Alrighty. Let's do that. Okay. Alright. Just fixing some things up real quick. We'll get started here in a couple minutes. Let's do this. Bam. And do this. Alright. Alrighty. Almost there. One more. Let's do this one here. Alright. Cool. That is perfect. Okay, hopefully the audio is good. I think it should be. But just in case, let me take a listen. Once it catches up here. Let me see. Let me ask. Alright, let me go here. Oh, here's the thumbnail. If you guys were interested. Let's go NFL Pro. See what we got. Let's see what we got. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the pop-up chat here. Chat overlay. Alright. Okay. Hopefully that's good. Let's go ahead and get started here with the first game. The Jets versus the Vikings in the morning. Tomorrow, actually. That's going to be exciting. All right, so first things first. How can I beat you this week? Let's see. Let me make sure. Yes, it's working. You can't beat me. I'm unbeatable. It's alright. You can just accept your loss at this point. The only way really to beat me is you kind of have to have my team, which is impossible to do. But good question there. Good question. All right. Anyway, let's get into this. So right now, as you can see by the odds right here, the Jets are currently underdogs by 2 points. We're looking at the defense, right? The Vikings defense is actually probably one of the best defenses right now in the NFL. Maybe the best is what they're showing at least. The one thing though that the Vikings do allow is they allow a lot of passing yards to opposite receivers. So we're looking like Garrett Wilson here, right? Garrett Wilson's currently 7th in the NFL in total targets from Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he's not having that great of a year when it comes to fantasy or receiving yards or anything like that. But I mean, we're looking at, he could possibly have a bounce back game here. I'm not saying that, he's going to go absolutely insane, but I think that it's definitely a possibility that he gets 64 receiving yards, even though he's performing so poorly right now, just because of how many yards that the Vikings allow, especially, so far in the year. Same thing here with Allen Lazard. I think that he could easily get more than 34 yards, honestly, especially if Aaron Rodgers keeps targeting him the way he is. The one guy I'm really worried about here, especially because he's kind of having a split role with Braylon Allen, is Breece Hall. So obviously Breece Hall against this Vikings defense. The Vikings defense, their rush defense at least, is going to be one of the best in the NFL. And we've seen that, right? I mean, Jonathan Grenard, he was on the Texans last year. He's having a really good year right now. But I mean, yeah, just like overall, I'm really looking to see Garrett Wilson and how he plays. I think that's going to be the main headline from this game on the Jets side of things, of course. So let's go ahead and look at the Vikings. Obviously, right now, they're probably the hottest offense in the entire NFL. Sam Darnold is looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Aaron Jones looks like he hasn't even lost a step, even though he's getting old, And something interesting with Aaron Jones, too, was that he actually had 80% of the snaps last week. And this was actually a weekly or a yearly high for Aaron Jones, right? We saw week 1, week 2. He was kind of splitting the backfield. He was kind of splitting the backfield with Ty Chandler, right? So, like, is Josh Allen and Terry a good trade for Garrett and Dak? Yeah, this is a great trade. I think whoever got Garrett Wilson and Dak obviously fleeced because Garrett Wilson's the best receiver in the NFL. Anyway. Justin Jefferson, I think that obviously if he can continue, this is definitely gonna be a test for him. The same thing with Sam Darnold here, which was I was kind of what I wanted to talk about really with the Vikings is this Jets defense, right? Obviously, coming into the year, we knew they were gonna be really good. They've been really good so far. They held the Broncos to only 10 points. Bo Nix couldn't really do much, right? So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how well the Jets defense can hold Sam Darnold, and on the contrary as well, how well the Vikings can hold the Jets, right? So going into this game, though, I do think that this is going to be a really good game, especially to get the Sunday slate started with. But I think I have to go. I feel like I'm a Jets fan now because I have Garrett Wilson in fantasy. So I feel like I have to go with the Jets here just because I like their team a lot. But I think this game's definitely going to be really, really good. And I think I think we could see a shootout between these two teams. All right, next we got the Browns and the Commanders. So there's a couple things I want to talk about this game. For starters, let's look at the Commanders side of things, right? Jaden Daniels right now he's probably a top 5 quarterback, not only in fantasy, but in real life right now. His rushing potential is amazing. We're seeing him throw the ball a lot more, which is definitely really good, right? The one thing, though, that is a little bit concerning is how good this pressure rate is for the Browns defense, right? If we're looking at Jaden Daniels' stats, he becomes a really, really bad passer whenever he gets the pressure to him. So something definitely to look out for is going to be how Myles Garrett and that Browns defense, how this pressure is going to affect Jane Daniels. Because so far in his career, right, we see him. I think he's gone from like a top 5 passer rating to like worst 3 with pressure. So something definitely to look at. I thought that was interesting too. I saw that stat on Twitter because I remember Jaden Daniels. Which game was it? 2 weeks ago, right? Of course, he had that absolute dime to Terry McLaurin in the back of the end zone to seal the game. I forget who that was against. I'm just having an absolute brain fart right now. Um, yeah, I agree, Andre. I think Myles Garrett's gonna be all over him. Yeah, I agree. I think the pressure, it's just hard for Jane Daniels, especially for a rookie, you know. And looking over at the Browns though, I do think that with Njoku back, I'm kind of interested to see how he gets involved in this offense. Obviously, last year he was a really good pass catcher. So if he can continue that, obviously it's his first game back from injury, and we're seeing Deshaun Watson also being a very mid quarterback so far. But obviously the Commanders' defense is, at least passing wise, they're one of the worst in the league, if not the worst, I believe. Aren't they ranked the worst? Yeah, overall passing efficiency, they're the worst. So definitely a game here where we could see Amari Cooper get a lot of targets and a lot of yards. Amari Cooper actually is, I believe, almost leading the league in targets. So he's getting the targets. It's really just about the yards here, and I think that he could definitely do it against this Commanders defense. Um, and then also looking more, I guess this is in the future, but Nick Chubb was back at practice, which I feel like that's a really quick turnaround. I thought, as someone who actually has Nick Chubb in a couple of leagues, I thought that he was going to be out for a little bit longer. Like, I didn't think he was going to practice till week 6, but seeing him back in week 4, that's definitely a very good sign. But yeah, obviously, I think we really talked about the Commanders here, Jaden Daniels. I did see, did they roll him out yet? No, I don't think so. I was looking. I was looking to see if Brian Robinson was rolled out because I know he was limited in a couple practices this week. But yeah, obviously Jaden Daniels with pressure, this is definitely gonna be an issue for him. It'll be interesting to see if he can turn it around, but I think it's gonna be really tough for him. Looking who's gonna win this game though, I agree with this. I feel like it's gonna be really close, this money line. But honestly, I feel like I have to go the Browns here, which is it's kind of I'm laughing because I also took the underdogs in this game, so I think I'm going to take the underdogs again. But I do think that this Browns defense is going to be way too much for Jaden Daniels to handle, and obviously there is a world where he could get flushed out of the pocket pretty quickly, and he just has to rely on his legs a lot. So I think we could see that, but obviously Jaden Daniels, like we said with his passing, is just like horrendous almost whenever he's just in being pressured, right? Looking at this Dolphins versus Patriots game, like this game is probably going to be one of the ones where it's like there's not really much to watch here. Obviously the Dolphins are going back with Tyler Huntley, even though he played pretty bad last week. The one dude I'm really interested in watching, or I guess there's two dudes. Devon Achane, I'm really interested to see if he can get back in this offense. Obviously, with Tua Tagovailoa, don't think I said that right, but with Tua, this Dolphins defense was, or Dolphins offense was super explosive, right? And then we had someone like Tyler Huntley come in, and now it's just complete dog water. Um, so he's definitely someone I'm looking at just because of how explosive he is, and even in the run game right now, like we're not seeing him be very efficient, which is it's kind of surprising because it's looking like if the Dolphins don't have a good quarterback, then they just can't be successful overall. And I pointed this out in my last video, but something I feel like is important for teams to be great and not just good is whenever you have players that step it up when people get hurt, right? So we look at the San Francisco 49ers when Jimmy G got hurt, Brock Purdy stepped it up, and they just kept winning, right? That was like the example I talked about in my video. So I think that that's something that's going to be interesting to watch for the rest of the year. Um, Looking at Tyreek Hill though, obviously he's also been very limited with how he's been playing, and it's mainly because of Tyler Huntley. Um, Tyreek Hill is still an amazing player, and in fantasy, you definitely have to start him. But it's honestly really tough for Tyreek to get anything going right now because of just how bad this quarterback play is, right? I definitely think against this Patriots defense, who is 29th in passing efficiency, it's definitely an area here where we could see Tyler Huntley if he's gonna have a good game. This could be it, right? But I'm not too sure if that's gonna happen, and I wouldn't even bet on it, to be honest with you. looking at the Patriots side of things, we actually, I believe we got word that Ramondre Stevenson's going to be the backup running back. Not surprising, to be honest with you. He's literally fumbled in all of his games. Um, and I mean, you can't really start anyone in this Patriots offense, right? They're just Jacoby Brissett is absolutely horrendous. Let's see. First game we looked, never thought. Yeah, same here. Tua coming back. I think they said like 4 weeks, maybe. I'm not too sure about that, but I know he's definitely gonna be back. I believe it's like in 4 weeks, like in that range, like 4 to 6 weeks probably. But yeah, you really can't start anyone in this Patriots offense, which is very, kind of expected just because Jacoby Brissett's your quarterback, right? So like looking at this game though, I do think it's gonna be another like game like this with the Titans versus the Dolphins, where we actually did see the Titans offense do really well, which was I thought it was a little surprising. I thought that this game was gonna be a lot closer. Um, but I think we're probably gonna see the Dolphins take this one. It's really hard for me to say that, but I don't know. These two teams are just so it's just really bad right now for them. All right, let's go to the Colts Jags game. So, Anthony Richardson was ruled out today, I believe. So they're having Joe Flacco step in at quarterback. Or no, he's not out, but he's doubtful. And so if Joe Flacco's in at quarterback, someone that's interesting for me is Michael Pittman. Obviously, last game, whenever Joe Flacco was in, we saw Pittman get a lot more receptions. And even whenever Anthony Richardson was in, he actually did get involved a decent amount, right? On that first drive, I believe we saw like a 30-yard reception. So obviously, it's not. Michael Pittman right now is probably at his floor, and obviously there's nowhere to go but up from here for Pittman. Jonathan Taylor obviously is out, and we're having Trey Sermon step in. I'm interested to see if they have him be the workhorse running back, or if they're gonna split the backfield with someone. Um, I think honestly that I wouldn't be super excited about starting Trey Sermon just because we haven't really seen that much from him, right? But I mean, other than that, I really just am focused on Michael Pittman here and also Josh Downs. Really, a lot of the receiving core here from the Colts. I think that's kind of what I'm going to be watching this game, just how Joe Flacco plays with them, right? I'm also interested to see if the Colts would ever be interested in having Joe Flacco start over Anthony Richardson. I doubt that they would. But it definitely would be like a little interesting because at least so far we've seen like with the Steelers game, Joe Flacco was able to lead them to a win right in his first game. So something interesting there. Looking at the Jags though, this team cannot get it going until we get Trevor Lawrence playing like how he should play, right? I mean, against the Texans, he actually didn't do too bad. Um, but I mean, it's really just up to that key factor in their quarterback with Trevor Lawrence for them to actually start becoming like a really good team that can start winning games. And right now at 0-4, it's gonna be really tough for them to make the playoffs. But I really do think it just really all relies on Trevor Lawrence right now. And obviously, he does have Evan Ingram coming back. Looking at how this is going to affect Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr., I think that this is going to affect Kirk more than Brian Thomas Jr. just because we know Evan Ingram's probably going to take more of the middle stuff away, right? And out of Christian Kirk, we see a lot of his receptions be over the middle, at least more compared to Brian Thomas Jr. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is still going to get that value, like throwing the ball deep, right? And then as for Travis Etienne, I really do hope that we see him get back and like fluent in this offense. I feel like at least the past couple weeks, it's just been like kind of weird for Etienne. It doesn't seem like he's been like that same running back that he was last year. Um, Thoughts on Drake London dropped 30 on you? I don't want to talk about it. All right, I just don't want to talk about it. I need Garrett Wilson to do something. Brian Thomas, yeah, I need Garrett Wilson to do something too, because this dude dropped 30 with Drake London, and he's projected like 160 fantasy points. Brian Thomas legacy game. I could see it. I could definitely see it. Colts. Where are they at? Colts defense, 23rd. So it's definitely possible. I think Brian Thomas is definitely like a receiver that, as time goes on, like obviously once Christian Kirk's gone, and even when Christian Kirk's there, I think Brian Thomas is going to take that wide receiver one role. All right, but let's look at this Bills Texans game, right? So this is definitely a game that I think is probably going to be the most scoring points. I think that the Baltimore Cincinnati is more 48.5, 47. How much did this one have? Yeah, low. I think this one's probably the second most behind this game here. Um, you got two very explosive offenses, obviously. How do you make the perfect waiver wire team? That is a good question. So obviously it depends on who you have on your waivers. And then honestly you just kind of have to look at like what they're like you have to look at matchups almost. Like someone that's really good on the waivers right now in a lot of leagues is Dontavian Wicks because you're not having what are the names? Christian Watson's not playing and there are other receivers not playing. Romeo Dobbs, he's not playing either. So someone like that you could start, and they're playing the Rams, who have one of the worst passing defenses in the entire NFL. So yeah, really, it's just like about matchups, in my opinion, and you could honestly build a pretty solid waiver wire team, but it's really just about just finding the right guys, right? You just have to find diamonds in the roughs. Start two wide receivers in a flex non-PPR: DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Brian Thomas, Jason Downs, Keon Coleman, Trey Sermon. I would go Amari Cooper for sure. Would probably go with. I would go with. I go with JSN, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper probably, but I wouldn't hate you for starting Brian Thomas Jr. over JSN. I would stay away from um, Sermon and Keon Coleman and probably Downs. I either JSN or Brian Thomas Jr. there. I would probably lean JSN though, just because of how good this passing offense has been for the Seahawks so far. And should you trade Mason for A-Chain? Did you mind the back to Barkley and Gibbs? Yeah, I would. I think A-Chain's honestly not a bad target right now, especially considering once Tua Tagovailoa comes back, we know that the Dolphins' offense is going to be really good. So I wouldn't hate you for doing that, especially when you consider that you have Barkley and Gibbs, who are like two very solid running backs. So I wouldn't hate that at all. All right, Jeb. Let's see. We got who should I start? Two wide receiver spots: DJ Moore, Tyreek Hill, Pittman, and Addison. Okay. So, like we just talked about with Joe Flacco playing, I think that Michael Pittman's a very interesting start for sure. For your last spot, I would really consider DJ Moore or Tyreek Hill. Obviously Jordan Addison did really, really well in that last game that he played in. But I don't know if he can keep up that same the same consistency, right? Let me see if I can pull up his stats last game. So yeah, so we look here. He only had 3 receptions, 70 yards, and then obviously the touchdown. So I don't think he can keep up that same, that same volume, I guess. So I'd probably go with Pittman. If we have Flacco, Pittman, and DJ Moore. If we don't have Flacco, go D. It's so hard because Tyreek is so good. If we don't have Flacco, DJ Moore, and Tyreek, that's what I would do. Let's see. What do I do with 3 IR on my team? Keep or throw it away. Oh, like 3 injured reserve player on your team? Oh, yeah. You might be cooked. I'm not gonna lie. It depends on the players, right? If you have like Christian McCaffrey, you're obviously not gonna throw him away. Um, Type in the chat who your players are on the IR, and I'll let you know for sure. Do you think I should try to get a Honestly, I wouldn't hate it. Because I think AR definitely is probably gonna step it up later in the year. It would definitely depend on what you're trying to trade him for, though. I think that he's a solid buy low candidate, though. Dynasty, Titans. Should I trade Bijan, McBride, Ayuk, Justin Hill for Lamb and Marvin Harrison Jr., Lineup Kyler, Caleb, Bijan, J.O. Honestly, that's tough. The thing with obviously you're having 1.75 points for tight end, so McBride's very valuable. But I don't hate you for trading Bijan, especially after what we saw this last game where we had Kirk Cousins have 500 passing yards and Bijan only had, I believe, 16 of that. Um, as far as Brandon Ayuk, definitely a guy that you can definitely trade. Honestly, I don't mind that at all, especially because you're freeing up 2 extra spots to pick up off waivers if you're really interested in that. So I wouldn't hate you at all for doing that. Um, then obviously you're gonna have Hawkinson coming back soon, so I wouldn't hate you for doing that trade, honestly. Can you rate my team? A.R. Fields, Jacobs, Achane, Amon-Ra, Drake, McBride, and T. 1-3, just got unlucky to kicker in defense first 2 weeks. It's my starting roster. Yeah, yeah, no, I got you. This is a pretty solid team overall. Jacobs, I think, is gonna be a good running back as time goes on. Achane as well. Amon-Ra, obviously, Amon-Ra and Drake, we know they're gonna be very good receivers. McBride's probably tight end 1. T. Higgins, I think we're going to continue to see him get more and more of the target load. So I like that team a lot. The only thing that you can maybe do is obviously probably get a better quarterback for the now. I think that AR is probably a good guy you can sit on. Oh, you said. Oh, you meant to. Okay, you meant to ask should I trade Jonathan Taylor or Anthony Richardson. You could if you really wanted to. I think it definitely depends on the deal. If you're getting a better quarterback, like I'm not too sure what your bench looks like, but if you could package AR with someone else on your bench maybe and get a better quarterback upgrade, I wouldn't hate that at all, especially with Justin Fields. Obviously, when Russell Wilson comes back, he might not be starting. So, with that being said, who has to start my flex? Tyron Addison. Yeah, in your flex, I would start Pittman or Tyreek. I would do that. You just traded for Drake and Jacobs for Bucky. Mason and Likely. Dude, that's a good trade. Yeah, that's a really good trade. I like that a lot. My bad. Yeah. Okay, so I answered that one. Pacheco, Rasheed, and Thielen are your injured reserve players. So I think that you could probably drop Thielen, Rasheed, and Pacheco. At least with Rasheed, we don't know the severity of his injury, so I wouldn't drop him just yet. Pacheco, if you can try to trade him for another running back, like I traded Pacheco for Jonathan Brooks. So if you could get a guy like that, that would definitely help you out a lot there. Thoughts on Bama being down 2 touchdowns? Bama's frauds. You two should have been number 1. All right, there we go. Got through all the questions there. All right, where were we? Let's see. Okay, we were talking about the Jets and Vikings. No, we weren't. Talking about the Bills and Texans. There we go. We were just on this. All right. Oh, okay, we got another one. Start 2 for Dell Hunt. Let's go. I think that this game's gonna be a shootout, so I would go Tank Dell. Especially because I think you're gonna have more upside than Kareem Hunt or Jerome Ford. But between Ford and Hunt, mm, 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 I would probably go. I'd probably go Ford, just because of how bad this Commanders defense is. Um, but I would definitely go Dell. Between Ford and Hunt, I would go either way, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards Ford. So. Oh, okay. Benches Roshan, AR, Demarcus Robinson, Ertz, and Hawkinson in my IR, but I just dropped it. Should I put a claim on him? Yeah, you might as well for Mark Andrews. I think that as time goes on, I think I hope we're gonna see a lot more Mark Andrews in this Ravens offense because he's a great player, right? Especially like through the past couple seasons, he's been really good. So I wouldn't hate you for picking up Andrews at all. As far as trying to trade Anthony Richardson. If you could maybe sell AR and Hawkinson, that wouldn't be bad. If like someone's got a really bad tight end in your league, I wouldn't hate that. Like if they're like, let's say they're 4-0 right now, and they can just like hold on to Hawkinson, I wouldn't hate you for trading AR and Hawkinson for a better quarterback for sure. All right, let's look at this game here. Unless we get more questions, but. Texans, this game, like I said, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think CJ Stroud is hopefully going to get back into form. He's got all of his receivers healthy. The only player, obviously, that is out right now for the Texans is Joe Mixon. But he's got Nico, he's got Diggs, he's got Dalton Schultz, he's got Tank Dell, he's got everyone he needs to be successful in the passing game. So I really do hope that we continue to see him expand this passing volume because last year I feel like we saw a lot more passing from CJ Stroud with a lot less weapons. So with obviously with all these weapons this year, I really hope that he does step it up. On the Bills side of things, obviously last game was not a very good one against the Ravens. Their offense kind of folded. I do think that James Cook's gonna have a bounce back game though. But as far as the receiver room, obviously Shakir is gonna be out, so we could see Keon Coleman do pretty solid. Matt Collins. I mean, I just think that this receiver room is gonna be very spread out. It's really hard for me to start anyone here. I would definitely lean towards Kincaid. Um, Hurts or Kyler. Yeah, I like Kyler right now over Hurts, but I think that you're probably going to be able to get Hurts. Actually, I don't know. I think obviously Hurts right now is playing like absolute dog water, so you might get it might be a little bit harder to trade for Kyler, but it really depends on kind of like how willing your friends are able to trade Hurts or Kyler. So I wouldn't mind that at all though. But yeah, I think that this is going to be pretty spread out target room. I think we're going to get targets for Cook, Keon, Hollins, Kincaid. Yeah, I think that this game's going to be very interesting from the Bills side of things. Pickens or Higgins this week? I would go T. Higgins. I think we're going to see T. Higgins get a lot of receptions this week and like keep expanding that role, especially against the Ravens. I think that this game's going to be a big shootout like this one. So. But as far as who's going to win, I have to go with the Texans because I am a Texans fan. Obviously, take that how you will. I think I pick the Texans every single week, and I'm actually 3-1 on my predictions. So, 75%. But let's go ahead and let's look at this Bengals-Ravens game, right? All right. Oh, we got another one. I need some input since my whole roster is a coin toss. RB's ETN, Mason, Ford. Backup Javonte with favorable matchup versus Las Vegas. Team injuries. Yeah, Javonte is definitely a guy who doesn't look horrible right now. Receivers, Tyreek McLaurin. Backup, Dontavian Wicks. How many do you start in your league? I'm assuming it's 2 running backs, 2 receivers. Let me know how many you're starting, and I'll get back to you on that. Also, would you trade Roshan T and Ertz or Hockenson for A.J. Brown and Kyler is on the guy's bench, so it might be good. Yeah, if you can do that for sure. Yeah, 100%. 2 running back, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Okay, so yeah, let's go back to this. So we're starting 2 receivers. Actually, I would definitely start Reek, McLaurin, and Wicks. I think that Wicks is going to have a good game here, especially obviously with no Dobbs and with no Christian Watson. I think that we could see a lot of targets go his way, and obviously, like we said, with the Rams defense being so bad. So I would definitely start your 3 receivers. As far as your running backs go, definitely you got to start Jordan Mason. Between ETN and Javonte Williams, I would go ETN just because he's more proven than Javonte, but obviously against the Raiders are definitely having a more favorable matchup. And Javonte so far this year has busted in every game, I believe. But I think that Javonte is definitely a player who can bounce back, especially like you said with all the injuries, and he has a favorable matchup versus Vegas. So it's kind of wild for me to say that I wouldn't mind you starting Javonte over ETN. But definitely you got to start Mason, and I would go through 3 receivers, and I would lean ETN right now. But I wouldn't hate you for starting Javonte. You could probably talk me out of that. My bad, Kyler will not be in the A.J. Brown deal. Would you still do it? So you're going to trade... Let me see. So you're trading Roshan T and Ertz or Hockenson for Kyler Murray. Is that right? I'm assuming that's what it is. So that's interesting. I mean, considering your quarterback room, I wouldn't mind that, especially because later down the line, right? If if Anthony Richardson does step it up, you could obviously trade him too. So I wouldn't hate that for you, for your team. But But then again, you'd have to be trading T. Who is your flex? Let me see. So if you're trading T, you're probably gonna have to be starting Demarcus Robinson this week, right? Um, yeah, that's tough. I would try to do this trade. Um, oh, Kyler would not. Oh my gosh, my brain's hurting. I would. Wait, my bad. Kyler would not be in the AJ Brown deal. We just still do it. Okay, I would do it. Um, gosh, my brain hurts. I'm sorry. I would do it. The only thing that worries me is obviously that your flex spot for this week might be a little bit up for grabs with no T Higgins. So I would try to hold off on that one. Yeah, you got 16 carries, 77 yards. Las Vegas is 30th run, where his ETN seems to get. Yeah, I agree, 100%. And last week, like we said with ETN, obviously it looked like he was like getting benched with Tank Bigsby like just taking all those carries from him. So I honestly, like I said, I wouldn't hate you starting Javonte over him for sure. Um, I think that's really just up to you. Um, but it's just what I think. Okay, so anyway, let's go to this game here, right? We're looking at Bengals Ravens. I think this game's going to be a shootout, right? Obviously, the Bengals have one of the worst passing and rushing defenses in the NFL. What's up, bro? Convinced me to cancel this trade. AJ Brown for Reed. Have Nico and Neighbors. I have Love and want that super stack. Yeah, I feel you. I do. I have Jaden Reed in my league as well, so I'm also rooting for him as well. And the fact that you already have Nico and Neighbors, those are two receivers that are like really good. And the fact that obviously Jalen Hurts and that whole Eagles organization, you really don't know what you're gonna get from them on a game-to-game basis. So I honestly wouldn't hate you for doing that trade. Dude, I really love Jaden Reed, especially this week. But as time goes on too, I just think that Jaden Reed's gonna be a really good receiver in fantasy, and it's probably because I have him on my team. So I might be a little biased, but I don't mind that trade at all. Yeah, Etienne had the mystery shoulder injury halfway through the game. Such a coin toss. Yeah, I agree. Um, but I mean, I honestly, with all that being said, I would probably, I think I might switch up and go Javonte. But it's just, yeah, it's really just a coin toss. If I do the trade, it won't go through till Wednesday since I play on ESPN. Yeah, okay, I got you. So yeah, I would do it then, just because it's obviously not gonna go through until the end of this week. So yeah, I got you, Flo. All right. Yeah. So definitely, this is a game here where we could see Derrick Henry go insane, right? Around 85 yards projected, which is crazy. Obviously, last week we saw him get a 90. No, how many yards was that? Was it a 75-yard touchdown? I feel like it was more. Um, like first play of the game for the Ravens offense. Kind of like that's the most insane thing, especially as someone who's going to be turning 30 years old this year. That's insane for a running back to do. But I'm interested to see how Lamar is going to exploit this Bengals defense, or if he does, right? And if he does do that, who is he going to target, right? Is he going to be? Are we going to see Zay Flowers get a lot of the receiving role? Someone who hasn't really stepped up too much this role or this year, right? We're seeing Zay Flowers get a lot of screen passes, but we haven't really seen too much deep downfield shots. Same thing here with Rashad Bateman, someone who could potentially get a lot of targets as well. Mark Andrews, obviously we know everyone knows what's going on with Mark Andrews, so be interesting to see if he can end up stepping up, or if we're going to continue to see Isaiah Likely take the role in these big games, right? Shoot, I forgot Downs on my bench because Amon was on his bye week. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, he's a good addition there for your bench then. So I kind of like that a little bit more then, because if you're losing T, then you still got Downs. All right, but anyway, looking at the Bengals, right? Zach Moss, this is definitely gonna be a little bit more of a struggle for him. I'm worried about him and Chase Brown, right? Last game, obviously, we saw them get a pretty equal amount of touches, and we saw them both go absolutely insane. Um, sorry, excuse me, but I mean, This is definitely a game where, like I said before, I think it's more going to be a lot of passing. So I think we're going to see a lot of passing volume for Jamar, a lot of passing volume for T. Higgins. As far as Mike Gesicki goes, I don't know if he's going to get that much. But really, Jamar and T, these guys run the Bengals offense, especially with Joe Burrow as their quarterback. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what how this game goes. Obviously, the most projected points being scored here with 48.5 by DraftKings Sportsbook. Um, and I mean, if you're looking at, do they have implied team totals on here? I really want to see that. Like I said, I just got this last week, so I'm still trying to discover this. But I'm assuming that the implied team totals for both of these guys are going to be absolutely insane. So it's going to be a lot of scoring this game. Um, so I really wouldn't hate if you start like everyone. Like if you have Jamar and T, I would start both of them. That's how crazy I think this game's going to be. All right, Carolina, Chicago. Some things I really do want to look at with Carolina, Chicago is going to be the play of obviously Caleb Williams, but I also want to see DeAndre Swift if he's going to be able to do what he did last week. Obviously, he had over 30, or did he have 30? I think it was 29 and a half fantasy points for DeAndre Swift last year. And it was definitely a little bit concerning for me if I had DeAndre Swift because he was obviously not doing well before that, right? In the past couple of weeks, we honestly saw Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert almost getting more snaps than DeAndre Swift. So that was kind of a game out of nowhere, in my opinion. But looking forward, it's for me, I think that we're gonna continue to see the ball get thrown a lot with Caleb Williams. At least I hope so. And obviously with Keenan Allen coming back, it might be a little bit more of a struggle for DJ Moore to get involved in this offense. But I think that DJ Moore's gonna be just fine. He's scored over double-digit points in every single week, so he's been showing to be a pretty consistent player, which he was not, or he hasn't been the past couple of years. Definitely was like a boomer bust guy. But now he's looking like he's getting a decent amount of targets and receptions that you can start him basically every week. But I am definitely going to be interested to see how Keenan Allen fits in here. Also, how well, Cole Kmet does, obviously. And also Roma Dunze. I think that Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze really have a pretty good connection together. So I'm also wondering how that's going to, pan out. Looking at the Panthers side of things, obviously the Red Rocket last week couldn't get them the win over the Bengals, which, just a tough matchup for him overall. Chuba Hubbard, though, looked absolutely amazing, as did Deontay Johnson. Xavier Legette was someone that we were talking about last week who did go off. I didn't think he was going to be doing too much, but proved me wrong there. And I take my L's when I do predict things wrong. So definitely one where I think that, Andy Dalton definitely makes this offense like a lot better than with Bryce Young, right? So looking at this game, though, I do think that the Bears take this game. I'm gonna have to go with the favorites here, just because it's tough for me. Like we look at their passing defense for the Bears, so number 4 right now. The Bears defense is pretty solid overall. Um, so I think that this game will be pretty close, especially if we see the Red Rocket go and pass the ball a lot and make completions, and get deep downhill. So you just got offered a chain for Hill. You know how much, dude? Do that immediately. Accept that, dude. A chain for Hill is insane. I would take that. Mainly because number one, A chain's the RB1 for Miami, and then Hill's obviously the RB2. Or wait, A chain for Tyreek Hill or Justice Hill? I feel like I think that I wrote that was Justice Hill. I'm assuming you mean Tyreek Hill. In concerns of that, then I would keep Tyreek Hill. Because like you said with your running back depth. Also, I just think that Tyreek Hill's probably going to be better rest of season. Looking at Arizona. Let's see this game. So right now the Niners are actually 7-point favorites. That's crazy. Kyler Murray, definitely a guy I'm looking at to do pretty well in this matchup. Risking McBride is not playing or going for injuries again. I'm assuming McBride's not playing, obviously, with his concussion. I think he's doubtful right now. Let me see if he's listed on here. Trey McBride, he's questionable. He was full. Yeah, I mean, if you obviously if you have McBride playing, then you start McBride over Andrews. But if you have to go with Andrews, you have to go with Andrews. I think, like we said with the Bengals game against the Ravens, I think it's gonna be a shootout. So you could potentially see Mark Andrews get a decent amount of workload there. Um, yeah. All right, but looking at this game here, James Conner is someone I'm going to be looking at. I hope that he does, pretty good. Obviously, against the Commanders last week, they weren't really able to do much, which was surprising considering how bad their passing defense is, right? Kyler Murray wasn't really able to do much. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. did get there last week with the touchdown, I believe, like on the first drive of the game. But like other than that, no one was really able to do anything, and I think that Trey McBride coming back would be a big help for Kyler Murray, especially just being able to spread the field and like throw it to multiple targets, right? Because right now, really, it's just Marvin Harrison Jr. Like Michael Wilson he's not bad. Greg Dortch, we saw him get a lot of targets week one, but Greg Dortch hasn't really been involved in this offense since then. And especially going against this tough San Francisco 49ers defense, you're definitely going to need Trey McBride to help ease the load off of Marvin Harrison Jr. and get some other targets in there, right? Looking at San Fran, I mean, they're almost full force right now. The only person they're missing is Christian McCaffrey. Um, wow, this is crazy. So they're actually projecting Brandon Ayuk to have more yards than Deebo Samuel. And to be fair, I could see Brandon Ayuk having a game here. I just don't know though. He hasn't had 10 points in a single fantasy game yet, but we know that that breakout game's gonna come, right? Like we know he's gonna end up getting a game where he gets like 20 something fantasy points. Everyone's gonna think he's back, and then we just go from there. But definitely Debo Samuel guy you have to start. Jordan Mason have to start. Brandon Ayuk, I would say you kind of forced to start him right now. George Kittle have to start. Like everyone in this San Francisco offense is just an elite threat, right? Um, and overall, yeah, I do think that the Niners take this game. I mean, this line I think it might be a little crazy, but I don't mind it. I'd take the Niners for sure. Vegas, Denver. So we talked a little bit about this with Javonte Williams. Obviously, this Broncos defense is amazing. I think it's gonna be really, really tough for Minshew to move the ball down the field a lot. Jacoby Myers right now is actually the wide receiver one in this offense. As we know, Devontae Adams is going to be traded sooner rather than later. I really do hope that Devontae Adams goes to like the Chiefs though. I think that'd be a great fit for him. That's just my opinion. But I don't know how good of a fit the Jets would be just because you already got Garrett Wilson, you got Lazard and Mike Williams. Those three receivers are already really good, and obviously Devontae Adams would be like a huge upgrade over Lazard or Mike Williams, and even Garrett Wilson need to be an upgrade over. But just for me, I think that if the Jets have to give up too much assets, then I don't see a world where it makes sense for them. But if they traded if they had to trade, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. I forget the guy's name. It's been a long day. It's been a really long day. But if the Jets have to trade the dude on defense who's not playing with them, even though they're a good team, forget what his name is, then I wouldn't mind that trade for the Jets at all. Hassan Reddick, that's his name. Don't know why I forgot it, but that's his name. Looking at the Broncos, obviously, like we said, favorable matchup here for Javonte. Let's look at the Raiders' defense here. 26th best in rushing efficiency. Their passing defense is also pretty sucky, but we look at Bo Nix, very sucky as well. Honestly, not his fault. He's a rookie quarterback. Not really much we expect from him. Tyreek, yeah, okay, so I was just being an idiot. Yeah, I would keep Tyreek Hill. I would not do that trade. But I mean, yeah, we look at Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, Greg Dulcich. I mean, these three guys you definitely can't start in fantasy just yet until we see more out of Bo Nix. Maybe as time goes on, Cortland Sutton's possibly a guy that I like a little bit, but I think Javonte is really the only dude that you can start in this game. Looking who's going to take this, I do think that the Broncos defense is going to be way too much for the Raiders. Unless we see Gardner Minshew just go Minshew mania, which I wouldn't hate to see. I do like Gardner Minshew a lot. I like me some Minshew magic, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it, sadly. Giants, Seahawks. This game is going to be super interesting. Obviously, let me check if Neighbors is playing. I think, okay, so Neighbors is out for sure. And then Tyron Tracy's in for Singletary because Singletary's out. So this offense, man, they're just not going to get anything going for them. I think it's going to be really hard because obviously everything funnels through Malik Neighbors, and then everything that doesn't go through Neighbors, sorry, is Devin Singletary. And we saw it, obviously Wan'Dale Robinson did get a lot of targets last week, but I think that's mainly because he's like the wide receiver 2 option, really. It's really either going to Wan'Dale Robinson or Malik Neighbors on this Giants offense, and without Neighbors, everyone just focus on Wan'Dale Robinson, so unless Darius Slayton just becomes an absolute demon, I don't see a world where we see the Giants winning this game at all, or even be able to move this ball downfield. I don't think he gets even close to 205 passing yards. Seahawks, I think that honestly, we're gonna see a lot of passing until the second half. If they're up by a lot, we're gonna see a lot of rushing from Kenneth Walker or even their backup running back, Zach Charbonnet. I could see that a lot. Full PPR, different leagues. Start one quarter, two flex. All right, Justin Fields or Kyler Murray. I would go with I go with Kyler Murray. In your flex spot, definitely would go Wicks. Between Akers and Waddle, that's tough. I want to go Jennings just because obviously Debo Samuel's back, Kittle's back, Ayuk's still Brandon Ayuk. So I wouldn't go Jennings. Between Akers and Waddle though, I think you might have to lean Akers just because of how bad Tyler Huntley is and how bad this offense looked last week. Looking at your other team here, start 3 Downs, Ayuk, Terry, Sutton, Wicks. Go with Wicks, Ayuk, and Terry. I will go with those 3 there. Start 2, Garrett Wilson, Dell, Terry. The clear bun's in the way. Downs. I will go with Garrett Wilson and Terry there as well. Obviously, even though this Browns defense is going to be a little bit of a question mark for Terry McLaurin just because of how good they are. Honestly, if you didn't start Terry, you would go tank Dell here. So either Terry or Dell. Now that I think about it, I might lean more towards Dell because the stats for Jaden Daniels when he's getting pressured are horrendous. So I wouldn't hate you for going tank Dell. And then quarterback, Daniels or Fields, got to go Jaden we just talked about. I think you still got to go Daniels though, because I think we're gonna see the passing volume go down. But if Jaden Daniels is flushed out the pocket, he still has that rushing upside. I'd probably go Daniels. I really don't like Justin Fields. I'm a big Justin Fields hater now that I look at it and think about it more. But yeah, I think that hopefully that helped Dylan. That's what I would do. All right. So anyway, did we talk about this already? I think we did. Yeah, we'll move on. I think the Seahawks are going to win this. Just obviously, Giants aren't going to be able to move the ball at all. So this is the game I really want to talk about. Packers-Rams. The only reason why I want to talk about it, let's scroll down. These 3 guys right here. Josh Jacobs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks have to start these guys. These guys are going to be so good. Jaden Reed, I think, obviously he's been a very good player for the whole year when Jordan Love's playing, averaging, I believe, 28. No, is that right? 28 fantasy points. That's crazy. He's averaging 19.4 yards per catch. That's how efficient he's been as a receiver. Looking at Wicks last week, he had like 12 targets, and now you're not having Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs playing. Everything's going to get to him. Tucker Kraft, another streamer tight end that I think is a very solid player. And obviously, I didn't even talk about Josh Jacobs yet, but Josh Jacobs, great matchup here against the Rams. Obviously, a guy that you can buy low, in my opinion, right now. And, honestly, as long as the Packers have Jordan Love as their quarterback, you can start very confidently with Jacobs, Jaden Reed. As far as Wicks goes, I think I have to see a little bit more out of him before I can say that he's an undoubtable starter, no matter who the matchup is. But definitely Jaden Reed and Jacobs, as long as Jordan Love's playing. Looking at the Rams side of things, something very interesting is how Matthew Stafford's passing has been. It's still been super good, even without Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua, right? And we're actually Kyren Williams is absolutely taking over this offensive role if Matthew Stafford's not throwing the ball. I didn't think we were going to see this, but Kyren's getting a lot of red zone touches. I didn't think they were going to be able to move the ball that well, but Obviously, Stafford's been doing pretty well with Winnington and Tutu Atwell. Demarcus Robinson in there a little bit as well. But someone I really do want to focus on is Jordan Winnington. I think that he's probably the wide receiver one for the Rams right now. And obviously, once we get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back, they're going to funnel in as those receivers. And then you probably can't start Winnington anymore. So for this week, though, I think it's really hard to start anyone depending how deep your league is, obviously, on the Rams, other than Kobe Parkinson, who's been a pretty solid player. But I would go Kyron. You have to definitely start, and Packers have things. We already talked about them, obviously. And if you couldn't tell, I'm super high on the Packers. I would go with them. Oh, this is actually the high scoring projected game at 49. At least that we've seen right now. I'm assuming this game's lower. Yeah. What about the Saints? This game's lower too. Yeah. Okay, that's not a surprise, honestly. Um, I mean, yeah, you look at the Rams defense, 31st, 29th. They're really good at pressuring, but once again, Jordan Love's just such a good quarterback that that pressure does not phase him anymore. Um, but yeah, let's look at the Dallas game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. Um, Honestly, I think that this game is going to be a big test for Dak Prescott. Um, Obviously, the Steelers' defense is one of the best, if not the best, in the entire NFL right now. They are ranked as the best rushing defense. And obviously, you don't really have any Cowboys running backs that are taking over this backfield, right? Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott right now are kind of splitting the role right now. We're kind of seeing more snaps go favoring Rico Dowdle, but you really can't start him, especially in this matchup. But I will be interested to see how Dak Prescott fares against this passing defense, especially if we look at this game where Joe Flacco actually did pretty solid against them. Um, yeah, and Pittman. I mean, Anthony Richardson did pretty good too while he was on the field. Um, I just want the stats though. I don't want the video. Let me just go stats. Let me go. Oh, okay. Let me go games. There we go. Week 4. Let's go ahead. Um, this one. All right. Right here, Flacco, 168, 71. So about 240 yards, 239, about 240. And we saw Michael Pittman do really well. 6 receptions, 113 yards. 8 receptions were down for 82 yards and a touchdown. So definitely, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be last week. And obviously, I think that if Dak Prescott's able to do the same thing that Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson were able to do last week, then we could see the Cowboys winning this game. But I don't know. I think that Steelers defense is going to be tough for the Cowboys to handle. And obviously, the Cowboys defense has been so bad recently, and we've been seeing Justin Fields step into a new role. Obviously, like we said, or like we just saw, 300 passing yards is not easy for an NFL quarterback to obtain. But I mean, I think I have to go. I feel like all my predictions are kind of rigged a little bit. Um, Winnington or Tolbert. I'd go with Winnington. Because we're seeing. Um, Obviously this game has the most implied, the most total, right, over under. So that we're gonna see a lot of scoring out of this game is what the sports books are telling us. And right now, Winnington is the wide receiver one for the Rams. So I would definitely go with Winnington over Tolbert. Um, let's see. Jay Ford, B Tom. Go Brian Thomas there. I think Brian Thomas, especially in full PPR, is gonna have more upside for you. And I think that we're gonna continue to see Brian Thomas's role be expanded. So I would go Brian Thomas there. All right, last game here. We got the Saints and the Chiefs. This is already the last one. All right. Um, B. Robert Connor. I would go James Conner. For sure. Actually, maybe not for sure, but I mean, we can go look at the games real quick. So obviously, San Fran versus Arizona. Okay, and then Cleveland. So two really tough defenses there. It's kind of like pick your poison almost. only reason why I say James Conner is obviously if we have Eckler in the mix for Washington, um, then I think it's gonna be a little bit tougher. Let's see, he's unspecified, so I'm assuming that means he's healthy. So I think it's gonna be a little bit tougher for Brian Robinson to get there compared to an RB1 role with James Conner. Would you trade Mahomes, Connor, and Jaden Reed for Jaden Daniels, Joe Mixon, Jameson Williams? You have Tyreek, Mike Evans, ETN, Bowers, and Higgins. Full PPR, 2 flex, 2 2. I would hold off on that for now because I think that we're gonna see Jaden Reed go insane against the Rams. So I think that his trade value is gonna go up even higher. Um, so I would hold off on that for now. The main upgrade you're getting here really is Jaden Daniels from Mahomes, obviously. But like James Conner, I would take over Mixon, and Jaden Reed, I would take over Jameson Williams. So I would hold off on that for sure right now. What's up? I know this is but would you sit, or would you prefer a Dunze and JMO or two mid round, two mid 25 first in Dynasty? Appreciate it. I would honestly. That's a tough one. I think I would hold a Dunze. Yeah, I got you, Andrew. I think I would hold a Dunze and JMO. Those first look spicy though. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I don't know. Odunze I think is gonna be a really good player down the line. And then as far as JMO I wouldn't hate if you could trade JMO for it first. I wouldn't hate that, but I think Odunze is. I think he's someone you gotta hold. And you're probably not gonna get a first for JMO, but that's just my opinion. That's what I think there. All right, so let's see here. Hopefully that helps, Blizzard. All right, let's go here to the Saints game. All right, Saints Chiefs, crazy game. Hopefully, probably not actually, sadly. But Derek Carr, obviously he's been taking a step down from the first two games. They've lost the last two. Against the Falcons, that one was a heartbreaker. But I think that really what it comes down to for the Saints is going to be how he uses his players, right? Chris Olave is going to continue to get a lot of the receptions. Rashid Shaheed is someone who is going to be boomer bust. He's either going to get like a 60-yard touchdown or just absolutely do nothing. So something to look at there for the Saints really is going to be how Derek Carr uses his players, like I just said. Alvin Kamara, I think, is still a stud. So, yeah, I got you, Blizzard. Would you start Mahomes or Fields this week? So, Mahomes obviously is favored by a lot here against the Saints. Fields is going against the Cowboys, who have a really bad defense. That is a good question. I think it might be tough for Mahomes here without Rasheed Rice, but obviously I think it affects him a little bit, but not a lot of it, or not a lot. I don't say a lot of it, but that was a little brain fart there. I would honestly go with Justin Fields probably, just because I think you're gonna get a lot more. You're gonna get a lot more rushing upside, obviously. And last week, like we saw, if he can get 300 passing yards, um, yeah, Cowboys are missing a lot of good defensive players too. Yeah, I mean, I would probably go Fields just because of how good, obviously, the rushing upside is for him. And obviously, defensive players are missing, and Mahomes hasn't looked like the Mahomes that we're used to seeing, right? So, yeah, I'll go Fields. Anyway, going to this, we really don't know. I don't know if Xavier Worthy's really going to get that many receiving yards. I think, like I said in my video, he's going to probably get like one or two more targets with Rasheed Rice out, but he plays a completely different role, right? Xavier Worthy was more benefited when Hollywood Brown was out with an injury because Hollywood Brown was that deep shot type guy. Rasheed Rice was more kind of like slant man, right? Like we saw, he was getting like these quick options. Xavier Worthy, you're going to see more deep balls, right? Someone who I think is going to benefit a lot, Travis Kelce. I think we're going to see him get a lot more receptions than the past couple of weeks. And we did see that actually with. Oh, I didn't take that down. My bad. We did not see that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the second half. Yeah. Whenever Rashee Rice wasn't playing, we see Kelsey get a lot more receptions. I think that's going to continue to happen, right? Because, like I said, Rashee Rice is a very good player over the middle. And I think that that's kind of what Kelsey's role is, too, on this team. And obviously, Mahomes and Kelsey already have that dynamic connection. So I think that Kelsey's going to continue to get yards here. Honestly, I would not hate if the Chiefs traded. I think I said this already. If the Chiefs traded for Devontae Adams, just because obviously we don't know how long Rashee Rice is out for. And if you can have Devontae Adams, Rashee Rice, and then you have Xavier Worthy as well as your deep threat, like that's kind of insane. And you have Travis Kelsey, that offense would be crazy. I think it'd almost be unstoppable with Mahomes at quarterback. But looking at this game in particular, I think I gotta go with the Chiefs here. I think this is just gonna be tough for the Saints, and obviously, like we've talked about before, their offense has really been on the downfall since the first 2 weeks, and I mean it was kind of expected. Like Derek Carr, we knew couldn't really keep up that same efficiency, so I think that the Chiefs take this one. All right, I think that's all the games. We can talk about this Tampa Atlanta game. This game was crazy. I went to bed at when was it? I went to bed when the when did I go to bed? Was it when Bucky Irving fumbled? No, it was when Kirk Cousins threw an interception. That's when I went to bed, and I was like, oh okay, this game's over. And then nope, Kirk Cousins just another game tying drive, I guess this time, but then he comes out in overtime, throws an absolute bomb, 45-yard touchdown. Drake London killed me in fantasy. Darnell Mooney, I'm sure, killed a lot of you guys in fantasy. Kyle Pitts also killed me in fantasy. It was a very sad day for me. And Bijan Robinson did bad too. So, subscribed. Hey, I appreciate it, Andrew. Hunter said it would. I agree, Hunter. Wood is a great word. But anyway, yeah. So it was definitely a sad game here. I thought that Baker Mayfield was gonna go off a little bit more than 180 passing yards. I thought we were gonna see him pass it a lot more. Obviously Rachaad White. If you have this dude in fantasy, I really hope that you can still get value for him because if he didn't have that 56-yard rushing, or that 56-yard rush, this dude would have had like 1.9 yards per carry. And that's something that we've seen his whole career, right? Bucky Irving, 4.9 yards per carry. Terrell T says Deontay Higgins or Wicks, half PPR. That is a good question. That's a tough one actually. Because obviously Deontay is gonna get all the targets really out of the Panthers. Wicks is definitely a high upside guy going into the next week. T Higgins as well. I think we're gonna see his role be expanded. Honestly, depending on where this is in your lineup, and like who your other players are, like if you're projected to win or lose. If you're projected to win or lose, you gotta go high upside, which honestly all three of these guys are. I would probably go Deontay just because of how many targets he gets from this Panthers offense. I think that he's just so good, right? That's a tough question though, because I think Higgins and Wicks are also gonna have a really good week. So I wouldn't hate you for starting any of them. Like if you didn't listen to Deontay, I wouldn't care if you started Higgins or Wicks. I think that all those guys are gonna go insane. But yeah, anyway, we were talking about Bucky Irving. So I think that as the season goes on, Bucky Irving's gonna continue to get even more and more and more reps, right? His yards per carry is better. He's a more efficient running back. And obviously, Rachaad White is that receiving back right now. He has 3 targets for 3 receptions, -6 yards. Obviously not the best, but obviously that's a lot of obviously. But anyway, in Rachaad White's career, we've seen him get a lot of targets from Mayfield out of the backfield. So something to look at there. Other than that, I mean, Mike Evans finally has a pretty solid game, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns. Doesn't really do much in the second half, but once again, Baker Mayfield only has 180 passing yards, so it's kind of hard for him to spread the wealth around, if you will. But I mean, yeah, my main takeaway from this game though is Baker Mayfield 6 attempts, 42 yards. I think that that's the most amount of rushing yards he's had in his career, without looking it up. Most or second most. that I mean, we never really see Baker Mayfield scramble like that. The only time I've seen Baker Mayfield scramble was whenever he ran out of bounds and then he got rocked, no flag was thrown, and then he went absolutely crazy. Um, like he was getting hype. That dude was crazy. But I think that obviously I don't think that this 500 yards, I don't think that's sustainable. And I think a lot of people would also agree because this has only happened around 20 times. So it's kind of like scoring 60 points in an NBA game. That which is kind of doesn't happen a lot, right? So I mean, I think you're going to continue to see Drake London, Mooney. These guys are probably going to be the two that are dominating the targets from Kirk Cousins, with Kyle Pitts also getting involved there a little bit. Um, Man, Raymond McLeod had 9 targets for 6 receptions. This whole offense really, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys get more reception yards than Godwin and Evans, who were the leaders for the Buccaneers. That's just what happens when you have 509 passing yards. That's insane, absolutely crazy. Um, yeah, I think that's it for that stuff, though. I mean, we can go ahead and we can look at some of this stuff. Let's look at I don't even know what I look at. We went by those games pretty quick, huh? Well, there's also bye weeks this week too. That's something that's also kind of sucky with the NFL with the bye weeks because you don't get as many games. But the one thing that I do like about bye weeks is whenever your team is playing someone, at least fantasy wise, with a bunch of bye weeks, which doesn't happen to me. Especially this week, I'm on the opposite side of that. But let's look at. Let's see, how long have we been live for? Now we're at 11. Let's try to get 20 more minutes here. Let's go ahead and just stare at. Let's go ahead and watch some Nico Collins targets because that's my boy. I love Nico. Let's see. I just hit him over the middle in zone coverage there. So Nico is actually the leader in receiving yards for zone coverage. I found that out yesterday when I was making my short about Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed's second with 330 yards. I don't know what Nico is, but it's not surprising, right? I mean, we're looking right here. He's just wide open. And he's right now leading the NFL in passing yards. I'm sure many of you guys know that. But I mean, he's just such a beast right now, right? CJ Stroud's main target. And it's not like, the other guys in this offense are being negated. At least I'm thinking of Stephon Diggs, right? Stephon Diggs is still getting his his work share, right? Obviously, he's really only getting a lot of touchdowns right now, which is definitely concerning for his fantasy future. But I think that if Tank Dell, like once he comes back this week, I think that it's gonna be interesting to see how Nico Collins' targets are affected, and if they actually are, I think that we're gonna see more of Stephon Diggs' targets get affected. Um. Oh yeah, then does this. All right, let's go to this one. The next one. Yeah, this one was just a little. But yeah, I mean, he just like he loves contact. He loves running dudes over. He does that a lot. Um, and I mean, it's not surprising, right? He's 6'3", 6'4", so like he can do that. He has the weight to do that, the weight, the mass. Let's see, you got him lined up with the right. Like he just finds ways to get open. Actually, I want to see um play situation third. No, not that's third quarter. Let's see third downs. Okay, that was the third down reception. Gosh, dude, this thing is so slow. It's probably because I'm streaming on the same computer. Um, but like third down, look at how many targets Nico's getting on third down. One, two, three, four, five. 5 targets on third down. That's crazy. And like obviously if you watch the Texans games, Nico Collins and Tank Dell on third down, they almost look like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey back in the day. Like he'll just end up scrambling. Look at this. Scrambling, running around. Who's open? Who's open? No one's open. Right there, Nico Collins. Just ends up getting wide open, right? Would you rather drop Chase Brown or Braylon Allen? Good question. Um, well, let's look at this more like what would happen if Zach Moss or Brees Hall got injured. If Brees Hall gets injured, Braylon Allen becomes an RB1 in fantasy football. If Zach Moss gets injured, Chase Brown also becomes, I'd say, like an RB2. I think I'd rather have Braylon Allen, just because I feel like he's that guy right now. I think I'd definitely rather have him over Chase Brown, especially because he's obviously getting a good amount of carries, which Chase Brown is as well. But I like him more. Um, Especially Brees Hall. He's a better handicap running back if Brees Hall gets hurt. I think that's more like what I'm leaning towards there. Um, let's see if there's like let me see week 2. He did it week 2 too. I was at this game. This one, I think. I don't know. It's 26 yards, so I think it's this one. But like, just watch. This clip is 21 seconds long, right? All right, where's Nico? Nico's right here. Watch Nico. Look at Stroud. Scrambling. Doesn't have anything. Nico comes back over the middle. He's just wide open. And, like, let's look at the other options that Stroud had here. Like, nothing's really developing too much. He probably could hit this check down here, but obviously it was, what, 3rd and 8? And then, yeah, you got the linebacker coming up. Maybe could have hit Diggs, but, like, I don't know. It's just crazy as a Texan fan um, watching him go to work, you know. Let's look at some other stuff though, because I feel like I'm kind of riding the Texans players a lot. Ooh, what are these? Let's just look at the stats. I want to look at stats. Look at stats, guy. Obviously, Kirk Cousins leading the league in passing. He did have an extra game. Same with Baker Mayfield. Geno is actually the current passing leader, which is crazy. Did not expect that out of Geno Smith this year. Oh man, I don't know. I think that this is gonna shift a lot as time goes on. Obviously, we've only played 4 games. Um, like Josh Allen at 20, that's definitely would not something that I would have thought right now. I thought he'd be averaging way more than 200 passing yards a game. Um, and the fact he's below Justin Fields is crazy. Tua, Tua was doing pretty good before he got hurt. I'm gonna get rushing. Wow, Derrick Henry's been super efficient too. That is crazy. Most efficient running back in the league, Chase Brown. Then Dobbins and Derrick Henry. There's Bucky. There's Braylon Allen, Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones, Jerome Ford. It's surprising that Jerome Ford's up there. I don't know why. Josh Jacobs. Pacheco. I'm so sad that dude got hurt. He was supposed to carry me to my fantasy championship. See, like these stats are like crazy. Top speed of 19.7 miles per hour on his game-winning touchdown. Reception. Darnell Mooney, 16 targets. Let me look at these. So this is just like his routes run. This is crazy. Touchdown, touchdown. There's some cool stuff. Like I said, this is like my only second week of having this, so I'm still learning. But like look at that route combo we have for Drake London. A lot of stuff over the middle, some stuff in the sideline, just very diverse, right? And that's what you want out of your receiver. Baker Mayfield, same thing here. All his completions are here. You may want him to take a little bit more deep shots. Like obviously he has a touchdown here, incompletion here, but definitely some good stuff here from Baker Mayfield. I want to see Kirk Cousins though. Does Kirk Cousins have his up? Oh, they show this too. Mike Evans versus AJ Terrell. Is this all of his routes though? I think it's probably all of his routes. Caught 2 of 4 targets for 28 yards when Terrell's the nearest defender. 3 targets for 3 yards was all Falcons defender. That's super interesting. I love how they have these because this is more important for matchups. Man, Kenneth Walker went insane. This dude only had 12 carries for 80 yards and he had 3 touchdowns. He was getting a touchdown 1 in every 4 carry. That's crazy. Man. And obviously this Lions defense, they've been, not as good as I thought they were going to be. They've been okay, but like everyone knew coming into this game, DK Metcalf, people knew that, he was going to do pretty well in this game just because of the Lions defense really hasn't been able to do too much. And even like this, I think this is his catch where he almost had a touchdown. Mooney on waivers, is he a must pick up? I would say depending on your team. Like I think obviously Kirk Cousins isn't gonna have 500 passing yards a game, but Mooney's definitely a wide receiver too. So I wouldn't mind you picking him up, especially considering who you have on your roster right now. Yeah, I'd probably pick him up. I might pick him up in my league. So, 2 receivers in a flex: Deontay, Terry, Tank Dell, Addison, Ford, and Brees. Okay, so I think you start Deontay. We were talking about this before, also with Terry and Tank Dell. I think I got this question earlier. This exact same one. I said to lean Tank Dell, and the main reason is because of this Browns defense, right? They're where is it? Number 5 in pressure, right? And we see Jaden Reed, or not Jaden Reed, Jaden Daniels, his stats are really bad against pressure, like when he's trying to throw the ball, right? We could see him scramble a lot, but he's not going to be able to target Scary Terry as much as we're going to want him to, in my opinion, just because of how much Myles Garrett's going to affect him. As far as your other spot for Addison Ford, you got to go Brees here, in my opinion. I will go Deontay, Tank, and Brees. Obviously next week that could definitely change, but I just think that this matchup against the Browns is gonna be really tough. For Terry McLaurin. Dell is your weakest receiver. So then I would just keep Dell. I wouldn't drop Mooney unless your running backs are like really weak. Then possibly, but I wouldn't pick him up. Darnold or Lawrence. So obviously the better matchup is going to be against the Colts with Lawrence, but he's been so bad so far. Darnold is playing the Jets, their defense has been pretty solid, but let's look at the Vikings games, right? Because I forget all who they played. So they played so 49ers, right? They're a pretty tough defense. And Darnold, if it'll load here. I'm assuming Darnold did really well. So I would probably go Darnold just because Trevor Lawrence has played like so bad, especially this year. Why is it game undefined? That's not nice. I'm assuming. Okay, wait. Let's do this again. 49ers. Game undefined. Why is it saying that? Undefined. That's weird. Yeah, but I would go Darnold. Maybe if I click here. Yeah, here we go. All right, 49ers, 268 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So that's kind of the reason there, right? Because he did pretty good against the 49ers defense, who's going to be a lot better, or like kind of like the same level as the Jets, really. Obviously Trevor Lawrence has played not pretty bad, very bad, all of his games, right? And you're going to get touchdown upside from Sam Darnold. Obviously, right now he's averaging, was that 7, 9, 11. So he's like at 2.75 touchdowns per game. So you're going to get that touchdown upside compared to Trevor Lawrence, who just has not been playing as well as you want him to. So hope that helps, Nick. Okay. What were we doing? Were we just like looking at stats, I think? QB pressures. Let's see this. Okay, so this is the total amount of QB pressure. QB pressure rate. So whose offensive line sucks the most? Deshaun Watson. Let's look at rate actually. Jacoby Brissett, not surprising. Will Levis, not surprising. Who's got the best O line? Tua and Joe Burrow. There you go. A-Chain or Wicks week 5 PPR. See, normally you would say A-Chain, right? But like we talked about with the Packers Rams game is projected the second most amount of, or no, the most amount of points by Vegas with 49. And I think that we're gonna see Jordan Love air this ball out, right? Against the Rams. Here, let me put up the Rams and then let's go to the Dolphins. Who do the Dolphins play? Where are you at? New England. So yeah, obviously New England sucks, but looking more in depth on like the receivers that the Rams have played against, is this gonna do undefined again? I think it is. It's being mean to me today. I don't know why. It's just not being nice. But anyway, like we're looking at like their defense. The Rams defense right now is like the worst in the league, or at least one of the worst in the league. Obviously the Commanders defense right now is worse in concerns to passing. The only thing with A-Chain is that obviously you have a pretty favorable matchup against the Patriots, but they've just been so bad that I think you can't start anyone in Miami other than possibly Tyreek Hill. So I would probably go Wicks, especially PPR. And I'm assuming this is your flex spot, so you kind of have to go Wicks because I think you're gonna get more upside from Wicks. That's who I would go with there. Let's see. All right, who's not being trusted to throw the ball? Herbert. Wow, that's surprising. Herbert I feel bad for though because his team is just so bad. 145 passing yards a game, 1 touchdown, 96 rating. He's not a bad quarterback. He's just 13 for 14, 115 yards in a clean pocket. It's just tough for Herbert. Honestly, he just really has no Jordan Love or Mahomes, yes, for sure. And I would honestly say if you're having Jordan Love, then you should probably go Dante Wicks just for that stack. Um. Oh, they show splits versus blitz and no blitz. Oh, that's actually nice. I didn't know they did this. Oh my gosh, wait. I want to look at Jaden Reed now. Because I want to see. Or not Jaden Reed. Jaden Daniels. Let's see. Will it show me? It will. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about right here. That rating drops by 25 points. And, you know, obviously, right now that pressure rate's only at 21% when he's getting blitzed. Or, wait, no, when he's getting blitzed. 40%. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 124 rating. Okay, he's actually pretty good against the blitz. But I'm telling you, it's like when he gets pressured, he's tough. Does it show his pressures? Maybe if we go pass plays versus blitz. No check down. I'm telling you, I saw something on Twitter. Let me see if I can find it on my other monitor, actually. I mean, that's not a bad read there. You know, he's got that outright here too as well if you wanted, but got the little comeback if you wanted it. A lot of options there. That's not the wrong read. It's just so tough because let me see if I can find this. I'm gonna start looking. My computer wants to load. That's fine. Um, let's see. Um, Here it is. Daniels drops from first to 23rd in accuracy when under pressure. That's what I really want to look at. And we're obviously he's gonna see more pressure from this Browns defense. So that's really what scares me with Daniels. I think I'm just gonna exit this tab. My computer's is going really slow, so it's hard for me to show you guys. But just take my word for it. If you want to look it up, it's on Twitter. Um, a lot of people are posting about it. So just close that. Let's look here. This is interesting. I feel like I keep saying this is interesting whenever I'm using this, whenever I'm on NFL Pro. But like the stuff that they do. Oh, he had a wide open dude right here. I respect the deep throw to Terry McLaurin, but you gotta take your completions there, Rook. I mean, 31 just gets. Where's he going? He could have Ertz here. Maybe he could have fit a window to McCaffrey, I think that is, but probably should hit Ertz. Let's see this one. Faking it. Going over the middle. Incomplete. I don't think there's like really anything there. Let's see. I could have hit him, yeah. I think he just took a little too long. Honestly, nah, he would have gotten taken down. That was just a tough opportunity. I think that if he maybe throw it over here to the left side, could have been a little better. Oops, sorry. I start Bowers over Kraft, even though Bowers kind of settled down some. Uh, yes, I think Bowers is probably better, especially because we're gonna see him get. We should see him get majority of the targets get funneled to him with no Devontae Adams. Um, the only issue though is this Broncos defense held the Jets really well last week. So I mean, if I wouldn't hate it if you went Kraft, just because, like I said before, with how high the scoring is. But then you kind of be starting all the Green Bay Packers players. So that's the only thing about that. I wouldn't hate it if you started Kraft over him, but I think that Bowers is probably the better pick, just because I think he's gonna get so many more looks. Having a bit of situation. Who start with flex? Full PPR, Waddle, Tyreek, A-Chain, flex. Oh yeah, that's a big. Wandale. Okay, so definitely, I think you can rule out Wandale just because I think that he was very successful because of Malik Neighbors being able to kind of like spread the defense out. As far as Tyreek and A-Chain, I think it's hard to start either of them because of how bad the Dolphins defense looks with what's his name? Tyler Huntley. And obviously with Ayuk, he's definitely a dude where it's like it's like, he just hasn't been doing well. I don't think he has double digits in any point or in any fantasy game. But looking with the matchup against the Cardinals, he's probably your best bet because of how bad this Cardinals defense is. And honestly, the issue with the Niners is that they're in full force now, right? And we didn't see Ayuk do much whenever he was the only receiver. But then again, pros and cons to everything. We might see Kittle and Ayuk or Kittle and Debo potentially open up more looks for Ayuk because the defense isn't just focusing on Ayuk. I would lean Ayuk here. As far as anyone else who I would start, you can maybe consider Tyreek, but I think Ayuk's probably your best bet. Hope that helps, Carson. All right. Let's see. Oh, Zaven Collins. How's he been doing? Most tackles without recording this tackle. That's good. Zaven Collins, is he... Hold on. Let me see if this is right. Was he drafted this year? No, he wasn't. Was he on, I've heard of his name. I don't really pay too attention too much to defense, but I think this guy was a dog. I think he was on Hard Knocks. I think that's where I know him from. The in-season Hard Knocks with the Cardinals. That's where I know this guy from. I wonder if there's a way. I think there is a way. Let me go here. Let me look at stats. I want to look at rookies, because there are some dudes I was looking at, especially defensively. I was really looking at. Field to right team against opponent. 40 yards to go. Defensive splits. I don't think they have it. A rookie. Double fix Zay Ayuk, Brian Thomas, Eckler. So obviously we can go back to the drawing board here. The Ravens Bengals game is the second most predicted points. So I think that we're gonna see Lamar throw the ball a lot, but obviously Zay Flowers has not been involved in this offense at all. As far as Brian Thomas Jr. goes, you definitely do have another favorable matchup here against the Colts defense, who just hasn't been very good to start the year. But that really, dude, honestly, the Jacksonville receivers just boils down to Trevor Lawrence. But even though he only had 169 passing yards, and we saw, if we can pull up this game, I think Brian Thomas had like at least 50% of those yards. Let's see if I'll bring it up. That's rushing. Receiving. Yeah, Brian Thomas had 86, Kirk had 61. And Thomas got there with the touchdown. So, but you do have Evan Ingram coming back, but like I said before, I think Evan Ingram's going to affect Christian Kirk more. I think you got to go Ayuk. As far as Brian Thomas Jr., Zay, and Eckler, I don't think you can start Eckler because he's not the sure RB1, and he's got a pretty tough matchup here against the Browns. So between Zay and Brian Thomas, it's really dependent on if you trust in Zay Flowers to be that wide receiver who can bounce back. Like, obviously, we haven't really seen him much be a deep threat, which is kind of concerning because last year that's where he got a lot of his touchdown usage. Touchdown. Traveled 608 yards in. Laporte is first in pre-snap motion. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of have to go with like against the Raiders, that was a pretty favorable matchup. He did pretty well. Against the Chiefs, he's getting the target share. The Bengals, their passing offense sucks. You trust more in Brian Thomas than Ayuk? I mean, yeah, I wouldn't hate you starting Brian Thomas over Ayuk, because obviously Brian Thomas has been a lot better this year than Ayuk for sure. And he's obviously there's less targets to go, or there's less targets to go for Brandon Ayuk with this offense being so stacked. I mean, if you want to start Ayuk over Brian Thomas, you could for sure. I just think that this game, I think there's a potential we see Ayuk be a really good player, or be like the player that, not that we think he is, but like a pretty solid player, right? So I think you gotta go. Zay Flowers. Between Ayuk and Brian Thomas, you can go Brian Thomas, but I think if it was me, I'd prefer Brandon Ayuk. All right, I think that's really it for the stream unless we get like some last second questions here. I'll go for like 2 more minutes. We'll see what happens with 2 minutes. See if I can get this to filter by rookies. That is crazy. Some of these stats are crazy. I got you, Nick. Thanks for the question. The deal you get on NFL Pro isn't bad either, because you get NFL Plus too, I believe. So you can watch all the games, and then you get all these stats, obviously. And then you get the film room stuff. Start Madison or Justin Hill, full PPR. I think you go Justin Hill, or Justice Hill, sorry. This matchup for the Raiders is going to be really tough. With the Broncos defense. And then Justice Hill, like we were just talking about with the Ravens. The totals for this game is the second most behind Packers Rams, who are at 49, I think. So yeah, I will go with Justice Hill just because you're projected more offensive production from the Ravens, and Alexander Mattison. It's just gonna be a really tough matchup for him, even though he's obviously going to be getting the most of these with the most of the backfield with Zamir White out obviously. I don't know, dude. The Raiders is just tough for me, especially this week against the Broncos to start anyone, but like just like rest of season, it's just tough because you obviously have no Devontae Adams anymore. So, but I think I'd go Justice Hill there. Madison or Charbonnet? Probably Madison, but I wouldn't hate if you did Charbonnet. Let's look at the Seahawks. They're playing the Giants. I could see Charbonnet. You're really hurting at running back right now. It's alright, Sean. It's alright. I was my fantasy team has been injured for like the whole year too, so I feel your experience. The thing with the with Charbonnet obviously is that Kenneth Walker is gonna get a lot of this backfield, but we look at like let's look at this game, right? Let's see, can it bring up the box score for me, please? See if I can find this. Actually wait, I might be able to I can't go backwards. Are you serious? Lines. Oh my gosh, it's doing this thing. What I want to show you is that Charbonnet is still getting a lot of the receiving role. So if you're in full PPR, he wouldn't be bad. Let's see if I can get this pulled up. Here we go. So we look at Charbonnet, 2 carries, 15 yards. Not surprising there, but where is he? Charbonnet, 5 receptions, 39 yards. That's the main thing I'm really looking at. But just because I don't know if we're going to be able to see that same amount of production from Charbonnet. I would probably go Madison just because we know he's going to be the clear-cut RB1 there. Man, yeah, you're really struggling at running back there. I feel bad, Sean. You start Olave over those other receivers. Let me double check who those guys were. Yeah. Yeah, against the Chiefs. We're most likely gonna see the Saints go down, so probably gonna be a game where the Saints are gonna be passing the ball a lot to try to catch up with the Chiefs. Bijan a good buy low right now, or just stay away from it? Bijan's a tough candidate for me. So obviously I'm a little biased because I'm a UT fan. Dang, the Mets scored 5 runs to win the first game. That's crazy. In the 8th inning. Sorry, I just saw that on my phone. But right now with Bijan, my main concern is, like, let's look at this game, right? We have 509 passing yards for Kirk Cousins. You're like, all right, Bijan probably destroyed. Nope, he had 16 reception yards with 3 receptions. That's my one issue with Bijan, because Bijan's obviously supposed to be this receiving back, right? He does get 61 yards. He gets the majority of the backfield from Tyler Algier. Um, so depending on what you could get from him, I actually wouldn't hate if you could get Bijan. But yeah, it's just not looking good for him right now. It's a little grim. But if you could get him if you could get him for a good price, I wouldn't hate it. I would not hate that at all. Let's see what the pro preview was saying. Oh, they only put the over at 44. Absolutely crushed that. This was so sad. I actually, if you watch my video, I say that I had the Bucks winning this game, and I was like, oh, I might be right here, right? Like while I was watching the game, and then the Falcons and Kirk Cousins just stormed back. Like it was just so sad. Like if they have, I literally just saw the win. Trade Devontae and Worthy for Brown. Uh, I like that actually. Just because we don't know where Devontae is going. Obviously, if Devontae goes to the Chiefs, that might be a little bit of a tough trade for you. But I do like AJ Brown a lot, and I think that Worthy is someone whose his role is going to be boom or bust. So it's kind of hard to start Worthy unless you put him at your flex spot. Vanderbilt's going to win? Are they for real? Dude, I was telling everyone that Vanderbilt did not, or Alabama did not deserve that one spot, and look at them right now. They're down by 12. That's crazy. Wow. It's so sad too. So Jalen Milroe actually went to my one of the high schools in my district. So I definitely root for him, but like, and that sucks. Ryan Williams. Yeah, it's Montgomery bye week. Yeah, it's alright, John. I feel you. Did you guys know Ryan Williams is Serena Williams' cousin? I didn't know that until I looked on Twitter. Let me show y'all. This is crazy. She like just randomly posted. She was like, "Yeah, that's my cousin. Shout out." Right here. 17-year-old cousin. Like that kind of explains everything. Yeah, everything makes sense now. Oh, that's a bad word. Gonna pretend like I didn't see that. But yeah, she's just. I mean, that's just crazy. So I guess we know where it's coming from now. Uh, let me look at the other college games. Are you who's your team, Nick? Penn State won. This game was surprising. A&M, Missouri. Um, have you guys? I mean, I've said this obviously that I'm a UT fan, so I do want A&M to win this game just so that whenever we play them, they're higher ranking, so that whenever we defeat them, it looks better. But I got you, bro. Anytime. Um, that sounded so toxic what I just said, but Georgia was almost there. Wasn't Georgia losing this game too? A little bit before. Ohio State's good. Mississippi will miss. How did Jackson Dart do? $285. Not bad. Not bad for Jackson Dart. Now you're a Duke fan? I respect it. Cooper Flag looks tough. He looked good in that scrimmage yesterday. Oh shoot, Bama's coming back now. 35-40. Dude. No, Bama needs to lose this. Even if Bama wins, I don't know if they're gonna have Texas under Bama anymore. Uh, Tony, bro, this is like why is this here? I don't want this on my screen. Thank you. All right. Chase Brown or Dowdle or any waiver wire pickups PPR. Um, let me go to my leagues. So obviously, if you have someone like Dontavian Wicks, that would be a good guy to pick up. Um, oh my gosh, wait, Mark Andrews, T. Hawkinson, these guys are free agents. I'm picking these guys up later. Jalen Warren's a free agent right now. What is going on in this league? Okay, but yeah, someone like Dobbs is out this week. At least in this league, I don't know if I'm picking up anyone. Maybe Whittington. Like if we just look at projections, even though projections don't mean everything, obviously, but maybe I think Whittington's the better receiver over Tutu. So if you could get Whittington, I mean, I would probably start him over Chase Brown just because that. Actually, I don't know. Because Bengals play the Ravens, and that game's supposed to be pretty good shootout. Who did the Ravens play last week? Let's see. Played the Bills, and they absolutely held James Cook to nothing. So I would probably pick someone up, especially PPR. You're probably gonna get a better receiving option. So anyone like Whittington, if somehow Dontavian Wicks is still there, you got to pick him up. Um, but like from what I'm seeing from my league at least, there's not really much that I'm too interested in. Someone who low key could be solid is Juju, the TikTok dude, or TikTok boy as I like to call him. And the reason is that Juju did run some similar routes to Rashee Rice. Um, and obviously he sniped a touchdown from him earlier in the year. So, but depending on who's in your free agency, I would probably go PPR, or take a waiver wire pickup there, especially in PPR. Yo, we're at 122 subscribers. How did that happen? I'm supposed to. Oh my gosh. I'm supposed to have notifications on my thing so that I see when people subscribe. So I can be like, thanks for subscribing. Top receivers are Tudu, Winting, mainly. Yeah. I go Whittington then. I'd probably start him. I like Whittington a lot. What? Dude, they didn't tell me that. I'm kind of sad because I want to thank y'all for subscribing. So thank you for subscribing, for still here, and you subscribed. I really do appreciate that because it helps a lot. Let me see. Analytics. Engagement audience. Now it doesn't show me how many subscribers I've gained from this. That's annoying. But yeah, I really do appreciate the support. Um, it's more. I'll bring this up. It's more because the Cowboys play the Steelers and they have the best rush defense right now. Um, I don't mind. And then also yeah, PPR. I like receivers more in PPR formats. But it's just tough for me to start Dowdle against the Steelers defense. So I'm looking more at matchups there. You pissed that my trade Johnny Smith and Tua for Daniels before week one was vetoed. That was dude. They vetoed that. That's actually toxic. Honestly, before the season started, that's not even like a bad trade, right? Because like Tua, like I'm saying before the season started, right? We didn't know Jay Daniels was gonna be this good, but like before the season started, like everyone thought that this offense was gonna be like super explosive for the Dolphins with the passing offense, right? And like Jonnu Smith obviously is the tight end for that explosive offense. So that's crazy that got vetoed. I've seen worse trades that got vetoed than that. like in my one of my leagues like last year, some dude traded like, oh my gosh, he traded away like Saquon for some absolute bum, and it was like the only reason why he did it was because like he's a Cowboys fan. Who was it on the Cowboys? It wasn't like CD. It might have been like Brandon Cooks and someone else, and that got vetoed within an hour. Like the league manager saw that and just vetoed that. And whenever I saw it, I texted the league manager and I was like, "Dude, are you seeing this?" So the dude kind of it could have just been given up to. League ban vetoed this season 3 weeks later. Dang, that sucks. Lindsay, you are asking Jane Daniels or Kyler Murray. All right. Um. So with these two teams, obviously you're having some really tough matchups against the Browns and the Niners. I actually think I got this question earlier in the stream, as well. But and I said Kyler Murray, and I think I'd agree with that still. We were talking about just how much this Browns defense. If we're looking at accuracies for Jaden Daniels, he goes from first in the NFL to 23rd when he's pressured. So, and the Browns obviously have the fifth best pressure rate. They have Myles Garrett. So it's gonna be a struggle for Jaden Daniels. The only thing that I was considering was obviously if Jaden Daniels gets flushed out the pocket and we see him pass the ball more. Looking at this Arizona San Francisco game, oh my gosh, big voice crack. Um, Obviously Kyler Murray's gonna give you that rushing upside for sure, and this Niners defense is definitely full of dogs, but they're not like as intimidating as the Cleveland defense in my opinion. So I think that's why I lent towards Kyler Murray. If you were to start Jaden Daniels though, I wouldn't hate it, but you would really be banking off of the rushing upside from Daniels. So it's kind of what I think there. Good question though, Lindsay. Hope that helps. All right, let's check this Bama game. Actually, okay, you can't just look up Bama score and it doesn't come up. I gotta look up Alabama. Didn't spell Alabama right. It's right there. 30? 35 to 40. Does Vandy have the ball? Vandy's got the ball. Yeah, it's not looking good for Bama. Who should I start at flex this week? Full PPR, Brian Thomas, Hunt, Wandale. I'll go Brian Thomas. We kind of talked about Wandale. With it's just a little questionable because I think Wandale was really good because Malik Neighbors was there and like Wandale was kind of like that secondary receiver that Daniel Jones could throw to. But I think that Brian Thomas, we're gonna see him get, I think, a little bit less volume oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Evan Ingram. With Evan Ingram coming back, I think we might see a little less volume, but I think more of that volume is going to be lost from Christian Kirk, who gets a lot of his targets over the middle of the field, which is what Evan Ingram, a lot of tight ends get their targets from. So I think you go Brian Thomas Jr., and the reason why I don't like Kareem Hunt is because I think I'm just like super questionable about Kareem. I don't know. I have to see a full game as Kareem as the RB1 before I can fully trust in him. Thoughts on Jaden Reed this week? Jaden Reed is going to crush. Absolutely. I love Jaden Reed. Rams passing defense 31st in the NFL. You got no Christian Watson. You got no Romeo Dobbs. So I think Jaden Reed absolutely crushes this week. And honestly, I might be a little biased too because I have Jaden Reed in my league. But I just think he absolutely crushes. Like we're looking at his projections, 70 yards, 50% chance at a touchdown. Like it's just Jaden Reed's so good and he's so efficient right now. Like he's averaging 19.4 yards per reception, which is number 4 in the NFL right now. My friend did Singletary, Komet, Jameson Williams, Christian Kirk for Garrett Wilson and Higgins. Uh, dude, that is a lot of players. It's definitely worth it though. I think Garrett Wilson is gonna have. I think I'm actually a lot higher on Garrett Wilson than a lot of other people are. So um, I don't mind that at all. Honestly, I don't think Singletary is gonna be good. Komet, I don't really like. JMO, boomer bust type player is really only like a flex option. Christian Kirk, like I said with Evan Ingram, I think that his role is gonna get a little bit lower. Um, Garrett Wilson and Higgins, I think that the only thing for them right now is that it's gonna their value is gonna go up as the season goes on. So I like that a lot. What do I think about Najee this week? I think you kind of have to start him. Obviously Dallas's rush defense has sucked, and there's no Jalen Warren, so you kind of have to start Najee Harris, even if you don't like him. Like I don't like Najee Harris, but this dude's projected 68 rush yards because he's the only running back in this offense right now. Unless somehow Mike Tomlin picks me up off the waiver wires and asks me to play running back, then I will happily suit up and get my leg broken. Um, but I hope that helps, Jack. Dude, this is crazy. Hey, you know what? Texas goes back to 1. That's fine with me. Thoughts on Kincaid? Who do they play the Texans? This game's gonna be a shootout. This is wasn't it 47 and a half, or was it 47? No, someone else was 47 and a half. Was it this one? No, they're 48 and a half. These guys are 49. They're 47. Okay, so anyway, I think this game's gonna be a shootout between Stroud and Allen, and I think that Josh Allen's main target this week, if it's not a receiver, is going to be Kincaid. That doesn't make sense. I think it'll be Kincaid, because obviously you don't have Shakir, and I think Keon Coleman's more the type guy that we're gonna see get a lot of deep balls, and Kincaid's gonna get more of the stuff over the middle of the field, or like we saw a lot of tight end screens for Kincaid as well. So I think Kincaid is probably going to be a pretty good start this year or this week. Um, I have Kincaid in my league too though. So once again, I might be a little biased, but that's just what I think there. And on top of that, the Texans pressure right now. They're number 2 in the NFL. So either Josh Allen's gonna have to get that ball out quick, or we're gonna see him scramble a lot. And I think I'm more on him getting that ball out quick. Maybe that's because I want him to do it more. Obviously, with me having Kincaid as my tight end, but hope that helps there, Jack. I need to drink some water. I'm dehydrated. Okay. Yo, Jackson State. Is Jackson State this good this year? They're first in the SWAC. Coach Prime, baby, bringing back winning. That winning mentality, even though he's gone. Thoughts on my team this week? Got Gibbs, St. Brown, JMO bye week. Dak, Najee, Kyron, Pickens, Reed, Kincaid, Jets, Bucker. The only thing I'm a little bit questionable on is the Jets defense, but obviously they shut down Denver last week. But I'm starting Dak as well, Jaden Reed as well, Kincaid as well, and I have the Jets defense too. The thing with me though is I don't really have any other defenses I could pick up, and I think the Jets are my best bet. So that's why I'm running with the Jets defense. But if you could have a better, if you can see a better defense, I wouldn't mind you picking up someone else. But I mean, I think like low key, I think people are kind of hating on Dak Prescott this week. Like a lot of the rankings I'm seeing are having him at like QB 11, behind like Justin Fields. Who else? Burrow. I don't know. I think Dak's like a top. I think he'll be like a top 10 quarterback this week. Wait, I say people are rating him QB 11. I think he'll be like top 9, top 8, top 9. I can't get over that Bama lost. I thought that they would come back because I saw them They were down 20-7, and I was like, all right, they're gonna come back. Like we see this all the time, right? But nope. Pats D or Raiders D? I keep forgetting matchups. Pats play the Dolphins. Raiders play the Broncos. That is a great question. Um, as far as who has more potential, who's the better defense? Really, is the question. I mean, both these defenses suck, but they obviously have a better. They have really good matchups. Honestly, as far as this goes, I would probably go. I'd probably go with the Raiders, just because I feel like there's a higher of a chance that we see the Dolphins somehow get like a Tyreek Hill 70-yard touchdown, or like Devon Achane 50-yard rushing touchdown. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking there. That's why, because I don't think the Broncos really don't have that big playability. Only thing is it worth it to drop that defense? Yeah, that's kind of like where I was in my predicament too. Was like I could have picked up another defense that was like subpar, and then I was like, well, then I'm gonna be losing the Jets defense. So I think you just keep the Jets defense. I mean, they're really good. Their schedule, they play the Vikings, Bills, Steelers, Patriots, Texans, Cardinals, Colts. So they definitely have a couple of tough games coming up, but I think you kind of have to start them. Aaron Rodgers. Don't know why I saw him and just got excited. I do like Aaron Rodgers a lot, though. That's my guy. Well, not really, but I think he's funny. Kind of. I don't know. Clemson? Old Sweeney? Dabo Sweeney? Dude, this Boise State running back, what's his name? Ashton Jeanty. This dude's over-under was almost 200 yards. Isn't that crazy? Like, the dude has 71 yards, and he's averaging 14.2 yards per carry. This dude could honestly win the Heisman, and I would not be pissed. Because this guy is freaking a beast. Like, oh my gosh. There's no stopping him. There's no stopping him. Like, you can't do anything. This dude's averaging 15 yards per carry. Are you serious? Which 5 teams do I think have the best chance of winning this week? Good question. Let's go ahead and go back to the drawing board. Um, Definitely the Seahawks, because the Giants don't have neighbors. Um, I think the San Fran's definitely a lock too, because they're at full force now with everyone playing. Um, do I want to go with the Jets? I think if I were to choose an underdog, I'd go with the Jets. So I would go with the Jets there. That's 3. Um, I think Packers. Do I think that? No, I don't think the Colts. And then if I'm being biased, I'm saying Texans, but let me choose someone else. I think probably the Bears. I'll be unbiased. I'll say the Bears. Vandy Star, the fielder, are taking the field goal. No way. That's hilarious. I remember one of the first college football games I watched. I think it was dude, it was forever ago. But I remember they went off of a touchdown at the end of the game, and they started storming the field and taking the field goal. That's gotta be crazy as like a person, like like a fan being there. That's gotta be crazy. Boatload of receivers, but had Andrews and Ertz as my tight end. I traded Debo and Ertz for Kincaid, Ridley as W and L for me. Um, Is that a W for me? That's a good question. So Debo and Ertz for Kincaid and Ridley. Obviously, Kincaid's better than Ertz in my opinion. Ridley and Debo, dude, I don't know. That's a close one. I might have to go with. It's tough because value wise, I think you're losing. Um, but fit wise, like obviously in fantasy that you can lose a trade value wise, but it can be better for your team. And the fact that you're getting Kincaid, I think he's a top 10 or um top five player rest of season or tight end rest of season. But Debo, I don't know. It's just tough with the Niners because of how many options they got. So I'd say it's like an N. N is for neutral. I think it's a good fit though. Should I drop Kirk for Hawkinson? Your current tight end is Kraft. Yes. Oh, Gary said yes. Thanks for answering that, Gary. Oh, your dog's cute too. Yeah, you got a cute dog there, Gary. Um, yeah, I think as the season goes on, we kind of talked about this with the you could also drop Hubbard, Najee, Shaheed. Don't drop Shaheed or Najee. With Hubbard, it'll be interesting to see how Jonathan Brooks being healthy affects him. Um, but yeah, I would do this just because I think Christian Kirk with Evan Ingram coming back, it's going to be a little tougher for him. And I don't think he's the wide receiver one. I think Brian Thomas is. Yeah, dude, you got a cute little dog there. I'm a dog person. We got like 4 dogs here, so I do mess with dogs. Um, but I think that that's kind of it. Wow, we went from I was almost ending the stream an hour ago, and now we're at 2 hours and 11 minutes. That is kind of crazy. So if you guys have any last minute questions, um, I'll keep it open for like 5 more minutes. But other than that, I'm probably gonna end the stream. Hope Panthers fumble Thielen so he can return home. Dang, 7 dogs, 6 cats, dude. I bet that's like a zoo. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, thoughts on Mason rest of season? Um, dude, honestly, rest of season. Obviously, I think Mason's kind of a guy you have if you're like 1-3 or even 2-2. I think that if you're above 2-2 though, you probably don't need Jordan Mason. You could probably trade him to someone who's like 1-3, 0-4. Um, then get like better value. Um, but I do have Jordan Mason too. Um, so obviously, I'm hoping that he does well. We have 2 cats, 2 dogs, and a guinea pig. I can barely breathe. Dude, pets are crazy, bro. I love pets though. Okay, going back on this, I also want to say with Christian McCaffrey, obviously they're saying that he's out for what 4 more weeks until November. Um, the thing though, I don't know. I really can't trust the NFL anymore with these injuries. Like they were saying that Christian McCaffrey wasn't gonna miss time with his Achilles, and then he misses week 1, like game time decision. And like, all right, he's gonna be back next week, and then he doesn't come back, and now he's out until at least November. So the thing with Jordan Mason is that like the fact that he could possibly be the running back for like the whole fantasy season, it's a possibility. Is it a high possibility? No, but it's a possibility. Like I don't think that we're really getting the full truths on this whole situation. You know. I wonder if anything crazy happened other than any college games. Any other stuff happened that was crazy other than the Bama game? We talked about A&M. SMU beat Louisville by a touchdown. All right, I think I'm gonna end stream here, guys. Well, I'm excited to see how what's his face does. Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's really good. All right, but I do appreciate all of you guys for coming and supporting the live stream. It means a lot. we'll be back here next Saturday again. And then also Wednesday. Yeah, Brees and Braylon for the handcuffs. Yeah, I like that a lot. And Braylon Allen's probably the best handcuff running back right now. But yeah, appreciate you guys for stopping around. I will see you guys next Saturday, and then Wednesday, of course, I'll be uploading a video. Yeah, I like Braylon too, Nick. Yeah, I got you, Gary. Anytime. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys in the next stream. Deuces.